What inspired you to make another Jurassic Park movie that completely misses the point of the original?
Money!
This video is originally an excerpt from my upcoming Lost World retrospective, but I wrote down so much for this section and quickly realized that my retrospective on a movie should be more about the movie and not about how these movies just gloss over the ecological impact of de-extinct dinosaurs being free in our present-day world. The main problem in Crichton's first novel is the ability of the staff at Jurassic Park to contain the animals on Isla Nublar. The biggest fear is them getting onto the mainland and wreaking havoc on the present-day ecosystems, which the movies seem to think is a joke, which really infuriates me to no end because it spits in the face of the dangers of de-extinction, which is supposed to be what this franchise is warning against, not cheering on. Like in Rebirth, for example, when Loomis gives Malcolm's poached speech from the original novel about us having the ability to destroy ourselves, the writers clearly don't understand what the point of Malcolm's speech in the original novel was, because it is antithetical to Loomis's argument about science is for everyone, which he preaches about throughout this whole movie. Because the whole point of Malcolm's speech is that everyone having unregulated access to genetic power is what could actually cause our annihilation if we're not careful.
Yet a bare decade after the bomb, we began to have genetic power, and genetic power is far more potent than atomic power, and it will be in everyone's hands. It will be in kits for backyard gardeners, experiments for school children, cheap labs for terrorists and dictators, and that will force everyone to ask the same question: what should I do with my power? Which is the very question science says it cannot answer. So what will happen? Ellie said. Malcolm shrugged. A change. What kind of change? All major changes are like death, he said. You can't see the other side until you were there. And he closed his eyes. Malcolm coughed and stared into the distance. Let's be clear. The planet is not in jeopardy. We are in jeopardy. We haven't got the power to destroy the planet or to save it, but we might have the power to save ourselves.
Crichton is trying to warn us in this story, not give us a free pass. I'm sorry, I love dinosaurs and I love the first 3 Jurassic Park films, but trying to justify the existence of these animals is antithetical to the original message of Jurassic Park.
Part of why I was interested in the book was to take an idea that seemed like a good idea and show why it might not be a good idea.
Is there another message here, though, that sometimes maybe we tinker with more things than we ought to be tinkering with?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I'm quite concerned that the genetic engineering is about to be a very widespread technology, and that people will have the capacity to use it frivolously if that's their interest. And so the notion that people might want to make square tree trunks for easier lumbering, or pale trout for easier fishing, this kind of fooling with our ecological heritage for what I think are absurd purposes is something that we're going to have to deal with.
And it's embarrassing watching these modern sequels spit on this message because it just makes me ask, what is the point anymore?
Money!
The Jurassic franchise has been degraded so much in the past 2 decades. While most of the fan base itself cares and wants to see dinosaurs, the writers and the producers of these movies seemingly find regular dinosaurs to be boring, which makes sense because they're out of touch.
There's been many dinosaur films in terms of the Jurassic Park movies, and the audience, you've got to do something new and fresh to give them a reason to come see the movie. And so, by acknowledging that at the beginning and saying, look, audiences aren't that interested in dinosaurs anymore, I thought it was like, okay, well, this is an honest beginning.
It's frustrating that they say people aren't interested in dinosaurs. It's not that people are tired of dinosaurs. It's that the writers of these movies are unable to create likable and interesting characters. They are unable to come up with realistic, dangerous situations to then put these so-called likable characters into. You know when it would have made more sense to portray an innocent family getting attacked by one of these de-extinct animals? Right after the animals had just gotten free and the wider world didn't know they had escaped yet. Not 5 years afterwards when the whole world knows about them and the one part of the planet that they still occupy. It makes the dad in Rebirth look like an idiot is what I'm trying to say. We should just leave nature alone entirely. It'll sort itself out. Malcolm's life finds a way quote isn't just emphasizing the resilience of life. It is a warning, just like this whole story is supposed to be.
Boy, do I hate being right all the time.
The life you're referring to is de-extinct creatures from a long-dead ecosystem, and every single one of them would cause a huge change in any ecosystem they enter. This is literally brought up in the dinner scene in the first movie, but of course the writers will ignore this point when it is inconvenient for their moral framing going forward in this franchise. They set up a whole movie that was supposed to tackle this problem in Dominion, and they literally skipped it all in favor of a plot about prehistoric locusts in an isolated valley in Italy, where our plucky heroes would go on to save the dinosaurs, who are a threat to the ecosystem of the entire planet. But fuck it, these movies are no longer about dealing with the consequences of de-extinction. Now it's about saving the dinosaurs so they can go on to destroy the Earth's ecosystem. From a recast Lewis Dotson, who is literally just a clone of Tim Cook. Nothing like how Dotson is portrayed in the first movie or either of Crichton's books. The whole point is the right decision is to destroy them, like Muldoon says in the movie and book, and yes, I know he is referring to the raptors in both contexts, but this does not negate my previous point, and any ecologist watching this will confirm I'm right. The compies are one of the smallest creatures InGen brought back, and they were still causing major chaos on the mainland in the novels. Crichton does add in conservation perspectives, which I do appreciate, because when it comes to natural animals being driven from their natural habitat, that is horrible.
On the contrary, he felt his original views were correct, that a lizard species had been driven from the forest into a new habitat and was coming into contact with village people. Gutierrez was certain that in a few more weeks the lizards would settle down and the biting episodes would end.
Unfortunately, what Gutierrez didn't realize at the time was that the unknown lizard species was in fact compies unnaturally brought back, and they weren't just biting old people and children. They were eating babies in their cribs. But what's even more horrible is bringing creatures back into a world where they have no business being. Trying to frame de-extinct dinosaurs in the same light as recently extinct species, partially thanks to us, and real endangered species, thanks to us, that naturally evolved in the recent past, is pathetic. They're not even in the same stratosphere, but clearly the writers at Universal and Colin Trevorrow just don't understand this. It's antithetical to everything Crichton was trying to say with Jurassic Park. And in the wise words of Dr. Ian Malcolm from the very first movie,
This isn't some species that was obliterated by deforestation or the building of a dam. Dinosaurs had their shot, and nature selected them for extinction.
even in the Lost World novel, Crichton heavily hints that because the ecosystem on Isla Sorna isn't natural, the dinosaurs are living on borrowed time. Especially since they all have mad cow disease because of the sheep extract InGen used in the food, causing the predator-prey balance to be completely off as most of the dinosaurs die off before reaching full adulthood. Probably helped by the fact that they all are contained on a tiny island which is not able to support them. I sound like a broken record saying this, but the whole point of the story is that the dinosaurs should have never been brought back to begin with. I know Universal will never kill off all of the dinosaurs because then there's no franchise, and of course there is the cool factor, but that's why you add in new reasons why they are still being made. Thankfully, they have seemed to have dropped the military subplot for now.
They would be shit in a war.
Jurassic World and the End of Fallen Kingdom were really the only ones after the Lost World with a decent setup that had some potential. Having the park finally be opened and then dinosaurs becoming loose in our modern world. The very thing Crichton thought was the nightmare scenario. Also, I get the whole premise of a story including de-extinction means they have a way to bring them back indefinitely. But even I, someone who genuinely enjoys the Lost World, can't sit here and pretend that this franchise's main thematic message hasn't went from bringing back these dinosaurs is a terrible idea and they should be destroyed, to these animals shouldn't be here and are all extremely dangerous to the world's ecosystem, but let's save them anyways because it would make us feel good for a day. Until you have to come to terms with the reality that you just helped cause a major ecological disaster by saving the dinosaurs. You opened Pandora's box and nothing happened. The tonal whiplash was already present in Jurassic Park's direct sequel. And while yes, the dinosaurs are made out to just be natural animals in the movies, which they are, you don't get to have your cake and eat it too movies.
Look, we're not fools. We understand these are prehistoric animals. They are part of a vanished ecology, a complex web of life that became extinct millions of years ago. They might have no predators in the contemporary world, no checks on their growth. We don't want them to survive in the wild.
I'm not trying to make this black and white. It's just true that these animals, while not intentionally, are going to cause a major ecological disaster. They will kill off countless other present-day species, they will unintentionally, and in some cases intentionally, take over present-day animal niches and territories. That's not an opinion, it's a fact. I'm not a scientist. This is just basic ecology and how nature works. It's not their fault, but it's definitely not the rest of the world's fault. They should be destroyed, and if they're not being killed off, then you should be showing the consequences of that. The dinosaurs can be simultaneously beautiful, but also a major threat to the world they are now in. And just because people agree with Muldoon doesn't make them bad. Muldoon was fucking right.
It was Muldoon's view that some dinosaurs were too dangerous to be kept in a park setting. In part, The danger existed because they still knew so little about the animals.
Which is even more prevalent seeing as Muldoon in the novel survives, almost like Crichton was trying to say something there. I hate Fallen Kingdom with a burning passion, but the one right thing Claire does is leave the doors closed to let the dinosaurs die. It's not a pleasant thing she is doing, but I don't see how she didn't make the right choice there, until the literal worst child in this franchise, yes, I'll die on that fucking hill, decides to let loose a herd of death lizards on not just the human civilian population, but also on the natural present-day fauna that is present in all of North and South America. Barely any animals in the Western Hemisphere are even large enough to fend off an Allosaurus or a Carnotaurus, let alone survive against a T-Rex. It's a fucking joke. The only thing they could and should be doing if they're going to continue this franchise would be to reboot it and set it back in 1989 when it's set in the novel, to hamper the technology and make the dinosaurs an actual threat again. But Rebirth made them money still, somehow. I had a good feeling it would beat out Superman's James Gunn and the MCU's Fan 4 stick, but I was surprised it made over 800 million. Which means instead of getting more dilos and compies, which aren't accurate but are cool twists on an actual dinosaur species, we'll instead get more uninspired, mutated cliches from older, better sci-fi movies. The sequel to Rebirth is happening, so we'll see where they're taking this, but it is not looking good. I'll see you guys next time with my full retrospective on the Lost World Jurassic Park.